Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Casey.
I'm Andrea.
Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about another one of our favorite destinations, which is actually a little bit closer to home, and that's Duluth, Minnesota.
Duluth is 2.5-hour drive north from Minneapolis on the shore or by Lake Superior, which is one of the largest or the largest freshwater lake in all of the world.
So we're going to kind of tell you today about the places to stay, things to do, and places to eat there in Duluth and the surrounding area. So we'll start with places to stay, and Duluth has actually got quite a range of places to stay, including bed and breakfast, all the way up to really fancy hotels. One of our two favorite places to stay when we go up there is Park Point Marina Inn and the Pure B Resort Hotel.
So Park Point Marina is more on the affordable side, is across the lift bridge, and it gets its name because it's facing the marina. So they're all waterfront or lakefront, and it's a really cool spot where we like watching boats, the yachts in that area. And this hotel is all inclusive. You get breakfast included with your rate, and it's only 4 blocks away from Canal Park, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And about a block from the Duluth the aerial lift bridge.
Oh yeah, the lift bridge goes up and down. The other place we like to stay is Pure B Resort, and this is actually a little bit more expensive, but it has great views of the harbor. We stayed in a room that actually had like a corner room with windows on both sides, and it was so beautiful. You could see the lift bridge and then the rest of the harbor, and it had a lot of other cool amenities too. They've got actually an outdoor hot tub. We went up in November one year, and it was chilly outside, but the hot tub was cool because it was nice and warm, and that's actually right on the water side too, so you can watch the boats go through as you watch that. They also have free complimentary s'mores and like fire pits out front in the hotel during the winter. Well, I think it's probably all year round.
It's been one of the most spectacular views that we've been able to see anywhere in Duluth, and we've gone at least a handful of times already.
Yeah, I think we might know. We've been married like 4 years now, and we might know more about Duluth than we do about Minneapolis.
For things to do, one of the biggest hotspot locations where you can dine, shop around, and there's many attractions in the area is Canal Park. Canal Park, right there in the area, you have the aerial lift bridge, or it's the historic lift bridge, and you can watch the bridge go up and down throughout the day, and they actually put out a schedule at the hotels, and you can find schedule at the shops nearby.
The schedule she's talking about is the daily ship schedule. So the bridge is the gateway essentially to the harbor, and the Duluth harbor is actually the biggest freshwater harbor, or the busiest freshwater harbor in the world. So yeah, like the schedule she was talking about is all the ships that will be coming and going out of Duluth harbor for the day, and every time one of those ships has to come or go, they have to lift the aerial lift bridge up so they can get out. Also down in the Canal Park area is the Maritime Museum, which is really cool. It's free, which is it makes it even better. But it's got a lot of historic things in it. They talk about the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is a famous shipwreck that happened in Lake Superior, I think in 1975.
One of the newest things that we did in our last trip was the Glensheen Mansion. The Glensheen Mansion was built between 1905 and 1908, and they still have it up with a lot of the original furniture and even clothes. And what else? What did they have? Original setup for a lot of these things.
Like Andrea said, all the original furniture, and even like some things like the family's original like sterling silver that they used for dining with guests and stuff is all still a part of the house and the estate. So it's really cool to be able to see something that old that hasn't been kind of split up over the years, and be able to see what it was originally like when it was built back in at the turn of the century.
It's a really cool spot where you really feel like you're going back in time, and it's a 12-acre estate with 39 rooms. Casey and I seem to have a thing about touring mansions because in castles. We've done a few of those in some of our trips.
Next we have the lake walk, and so we talked about Canal Park before, and that's actually where the lake walk begins, and it's about 3 miles long, and it stretches all along the the shoreline there in Duluth, starting at Canal Park and going all the way up, I think, until Ficker's Brewery and Hotel, which we'll talk about later. It's paved, or some parts are like wood boardwalk, but it's accessible. I can push out of my chair. It even, you see people rollerblading and running, and you can even like rent bikes and like little buggy or pedal buggies to use in the winter, or excuse me, the summertime to go up and down. It's super beautiful, and it's really nice to be able to see the lake shore when you're up there in the summer and it's nice out.
The next spot that we like to visit, it's a really cool spot for shopping. It's called the Duluth Sites. The Duluth Sites Marketplace, and it used to be a warehouse in the 1900s and also used for manufacturing. So you still see that old brick, the red old brick style, the European style, and it's really nice to just go around the shops. Even if you're not shopping, there's a lot of locally made crafts and clothes that you don't really find here in the cities, and that's what I thought it was really interesting.
Next, my favorite. Places to eat and drink. Places to eat and drink in Duluth. The first one is Grandma's Saloon and Grill. Grandma's Saloon is actually one of our favorite places to go, and it's really iconic to Duluth. And they've got really good food. Andrea actually, she doesn't like mushrooms and she doesn't like onions. But if you bring her to Grandma's, she'll have stuffed mushrooms and she'll have onion rings. So if that tells you anything about the food there, it's really good. And it's got a lot of history too. The inside and the decor is really cool. And you're right down by the water again. They've got an upper rooftop deck and area that looks out over the lake. We've never been up there. There's no elevator. That is one of the things. But all the other parts, the bathrooms and the first level, like the restaurant and stuff, is all accessible. So that's really cool.
This next spot is one of my favorite, is the Historic Vickers Inn, and it's a building that has now been turned into a hotel. It's a microbrewery inside and shops in another restaurant or two, I think, at this building.
There's 4 restaurants in there now, actually. Yeah. There's a lot of history in Duluth, and a lot of these buildings were built like turn of the century, late 1800s. So. This
is one of the first brewery tours that we did when we first came to Minnesota, and we learned a lot. And I'm not really much of a beer fan, but there were some really interesting things that we learned on how they make their beer, and then you end up, the tour ends up at the bar where you can pick from so many different types of beers. What?
I just remember when we went on our tour, everything that they gave us was IPAs. And Andrea and I don't really like hops in our beers, so we didn't really enjoy very much of our beer that we had on the tour.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like, even if you're not a big beer fan or into IPAs, it was still really interesting because they take you to different parts of the building and really interesting spots that if you just went by yourself, maybe you wouldn't have been able to visit.
Yeah, and they're not always brewing just IPAs. That's what happened to be going through the process when we were there.
Right. We're not talking about Vickers. It's just what happened to us in the tour, but really good, cool spot and the bar that we visited so far.
Also, Vickery?
Yes, that's how I say it. Vickery Distillery.
Is one we tried just when we went past this past November. And that's actually like right next to the lift bridge. They make, I think, aquavit, gin, a little bit of whiskey.
Vodka for sure.
Oh, and vodka. And they use all Lake Superior water to do their distilling processes, and then afterwards you can get like sampling tastings, and then they've got like a little bit of a bar food menu
like
there.
Appetizers.
Yeah, appetizers for you to try with your drink. So that was really cool. It's a really cool inside of the building too. For accessibility wise, you can't go in the front door because there's stairs, but there is a ramp around the back, so make sure, if you can't find it, make sure you ask, because there is a way to get in the building.
A lot of these buildings have the backside service area where they have to unload things, and most of these places are the locations that have ramps.
So, kind of conclusion, we'll wrap it up. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on the accessibility of Duluth. So we'll split up and we'll start with places to stay. So the Park Point Marina and Pier B Resort both offer accessible rooms if you need to. When Andrea and I stayed at Pier B, we didn't get a specifically accessible room, but it was doable. I got a shower chair, and then the shower was basically a roll-in shower almost, and door frames and stuff was that fun. We were on the 3rd floor, I think, and there's an elevator. Everything around, even outside, like down by the water and stuff, although it was ramps, it was paved. So Pier B was great. Park Point Marina is the same thing. We have stayed in an accessible room there before, and even if you can't get a specific accessible room, they usually have extra shower chairs on hand for you. There's an elevator there. Parking lot was paved, plenty of parking.
Easy way in and way out for everything.
Yep, and there was even paved path kind of down into the marina if you wanted to go look at some of the boats.
And you'll notice, since some of our videos it's worth mentioning that if we can't get an accessible room, as long as they're big enough, and Casey can turn around it with his chair in the bathroom and just to get in and out of the bedroom, that's good enough, for us and the size of chair and his needs, that works.
Yeah. So things to do. Canal Park, great place. The sidewalks are paved. Like I said, that's where the lake walk starts, and that's all paved, or it's wooden planks. But those planks aren't it's not super rickety. You can push over them pretty easily. And for the most part, the lake walk is pretty flat too.
Yeah.
And so is Canal Park. If you'd want to go down onto the beach to get closer to the water, like off the path, you might have a little bit of trouble, but it's not sand down there, it's rocks.
Yeah.
And so that it is a little bit easier to push. And the aerial lift bridge is right there. That's all paved, and the canal that the ships actually go through is paved. Glensheen Mansion. So if you go out on their website, and we can put a post or a link to their website down below, they have I think it's probably 3 or 4 different
floors.
No, different. They have different tours.
Okay, yeah.
So the one we went on is kind of like the basic tour, and it's probably what they would consider the most accessible. There's no elevator at the Glensheen Mansion, just because it was built in 1900s. Yeah. So there's no elevator at the second floor, but the really cool thing I do like is that they do make an effort, and while they took Andrea upstairs to do the tour, they did give me a tablet with a listening thing, and you can go through, and it basically tells you everything the tour guide would, and they take really good pictures of the upstairs for you to see. And then I had a tour guide sitting with me down there waiting, and he actually kind of let me poke around some of the other rooms that we had already walked through, because I wanted to see some more, and then some of the stuff that we hadn't gone through. And then he was super helpful in answering questions that I had about the upstairs and just at the house in general. So I didn't feel left out by any means. So I was quite satisfied, even though, like I said, you couldn't get to the second story of the house. I was quite satisfied with the effort they made to try to include you in as much of the tour as possible.
Right.
Well, I talked about the lake walk already. Pretty flat, all paved, very good. Great place for wheelchairs. The marketplace, Dwitzites, we're not really actually sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
But anyways, like I said, it's an older building, but elevator all the way to the top. Some of the shops in there,
a little tight.
Yeah, they do get some tight. They get tight, so you might have to kind of work your way around stuff, or maybe ask the shopkeeper if they can move a rack or something. And usually they're pretty nice about it if you ask them. Obviously, if it's a huge thing, they may not be able to. But for the most part, they're really nice. And like I said, I just noticed there that there are some tight aisles that I couldn't get through.
But it was mainly inside the shops, would you say?
Yeah,
around the building.
The building's great. Some of the specific
shops.
The shops, they load as much stuff into the room as they can. Grandma's Saloon, like I said, the restaurant area, the bathrooms, all accessible, nice
You
and
said
flat.
the deck was the only thing.
Yeah, the deck, there's no elevator up to, and I haven't actually ever been up there. It's a decent flight of stairs to climb up.
Yeah.
Ficker's Brew House, that whole building is... that's got an elevator.
Yeah.
Because of that it used to be a brewery, and they kind of explained this to us, there are certain parts where there's some steeper ramps and stuff, and that's because they said if they would ever spill beer, it would flow downhill, and then they could easily wash it out to the center of the building.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
So there are some parts where you may need a little help up and down some ramps. But like I said, there's elevator, and for some reason, those shops and stuff seem to be a lot more well spaced out than the Dwitzites marketplace. Vicra.
Yeah.
Vicra Distillery. The distillery and part of the tasting area / kind of bar restaurant thing was all one level. When you came in, the ramp on the backside of the building, that was all one level. The part where you have to actually go down and order your drinks by the bar is down some stairs. But if you have somebody with you, or usually they were pretty cool about coming to check on me to see if there's anything I needed.
I think the guy that gave us the tour made sure the guy from the bar knew that we were there, and so I don't think they typically do this if you can walk downstairs. But he came up with the menu.
Yep.
He was super nice.
Yeah. And like I said, the Minnesota Nice thing, everybody's super helpful. And it's really hard to find a place where they're like, no, there's no place in.
Right.
So, and even if there would, I have a feeling people would help you get in the building.
Yeah, but
So-
rarely we found that. With everything we just told you that we did, you know, it was pretty accessible.
Overall, Duluth, I would probably rank out of 4.5 out of 5, and only a half a star just because, like I said, there's a lot of old buildings there, and you can't change everything. So there's going to be a couple more difficult spots, but nothing
Right.
impossible. So we hope you enjoyed this video. We'll throw up some links in the description below for some of the places we talked about, and make sure you comment below what you thought of the video. If there's other videos you'd think you'd like us to do, let us know in the comments below as well. Give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Adapted Adventure.
See you next time.